Cardio Busto. This is the Schumann Resonance Harmonics channel on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your support. Thank you for your love. Um, Whoever of you has sent PayPal and have joined the Patreon cult, I appreciate it. Thank you. You keep my head like that. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for showing up. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And then when you hit subscribe, the little bell will come up and hit the all notification bell, or you are likely to get none of the notifications and none of the updates, and you'll get nothing. If you don't hit all, you will get nothing. It's what our experience has shown us, and we're bringing you into the fold so you know likewise. Okay, thank you all for being here. This is what's up on the screen is the Schumann resonance last image. This is from Tomsk by way of disclosurenews.it. And I'm pretty sure that the link will be in the description. If not, then egg my comments and I'll post it up there somewhere. So I need to do an observations video. It's been a while. I have a complaint that I'm not paying enough attention to the Schumann resonances while I am deep in the middle of the Friedman Frund mini-series. Or I guess it's not mini, it's a series, legitimate series. There's 8 of them altogether. It should be intended to be 8 of them. And so I have one more in the queue on the part 1, and then the next part after that, I'm going to start talking about the cows. So there's a lot to this, and I'm going to do a little, kind of short video explaining why I'm spending so much time on Friedman Front, right? Okay, but I wanted to have just the observations video in this one and just spend a little time for for the people who are curious. I haven't done one in a while, so um you know um what's going on, right? So there's a spike there. Let's talk about the spike. Let's talk about the spike, baby. Spice, spike. It's amazing how 2 words that are spelled different can, or so closely can mean so different things. Uh well, okay, where are we? Let's take inventory. Okay, so I don't have a script. All right. I just kind of wrote down uh eventually I have to do a description. A description. Okay. So a lot of times the script that I use is the description of the video. Sometimes I just open up the notepad and write the date, and that'll be it. And then I'll figure it out when I post the video. So I prefer a script because I do technical stuff. I like when I do the technical stuff staying on script because it's very it's technical. You got you can't I can't go off roaming about the jungle. Uh, However, for these observations, because I've done so many of them, there's sort of a built-in script at this point of what it is and what I do. And very simply, I wanted to talk more about the spectrogram. Right? So there may not necessarily be a script, but there's a topic. Okay, so in these later ones, I've given you all the basics. I mean, give me a break. I've, I've done all the basics, and I've done a number of, I've done like a few that in themselves are, this is how to read it, and then I've done a series of, this is how to read the Schumann, and gone through the different parts of it. And I have done multiple videos on how to read the Schumann from the basic to up to the the more complex. And so this is going I'm going over some of the basic ones, but this is going to be a continuing series of the last few that I've done where I talk about the deciphering, decrypting the glyph of the Schumann, the spectrogram. It's a mystery. It really truly is a mystery to people, especially if they have no experience in what a spectrogram does, or how spectrogram, processes the signal, or what it's doing, or how the signal is sent into that machine, or that machine over there. Um, and so it's it's important for me, as being the guy with 40 plus years experience, to go through the basics of this. And even though I've done, I try and treat each of these videos as if there's going to be someone new here. So I deal with the basics on this. I give an introduction of the basics, and in addition to, have some rather complicated advanced stuff in here as well. And so just simply explaining the technical aspects of the spectrogram is an advanced aspect, especially where I'm not couching it in terms of the collective consciousness and 5D ascension, gamma, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, as a famous nefarious disrepute in the news, teenage disrepute, says blah blah blah, and got Boris Johnson to repeat it. Good for you, you little chippy, um, chippy tart. Some of you know what I'm talking about. If you pay attention to like current events, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't even sweat it. Um, um, so all right. So this is going to be just an observations on the spectrogram, the Schumann resonance data coming from Tomsk, and the spectrogram in general. Okay. And so I'm going to flip into the full screen mode in just a minute. I'm going to play some music, of course. For those of you who are wondering, it's 7 minutes into this. Where's the Aaron mix? Can't blame you. I wouldn't want to hear me talking if I could avoid it either. So we'll play some music. Smoke breaks worth. Our lap dance, our proverbial lap dance's worth of uh, tunage. And then I'll go into the spiel about the spectrogram, and as usual, I have it on the paint. Oh, hello, that's a mouthful. The paint program, so that I can bring it down to the pixel, as is my want, and look at it from the fine tooth. If you didn't know, I am the deep dive aspect of this. I'm the technical version of this. I do the deep dive technical, accepted standard engineering, accepted technical aspects of what are the Schumann resonances, and how you read the spectrogram, and how antennas work, how the Schumann resonance antennas work, how the induction coil works, which picks up the magnetic side, etc., so on and so forth. Um, and so, because I have, and just the nutshell version of this, why I'm doing this is simply for a love of the electronics, love of how this process works, love of what radio, what antennas do, the fact that the Schumann resonances are radio waves, they're glorified radio waves. They are, not only are they glorified, in some cases they are deified. They are deified by certain folks, what I refer to as the Ascensionists and the Schumannites. Um, so that's part of why I do this as well, is because I've heard enough of the crap, and how people explain this, and how they, what they say it is, and blah blah blah. And as someone that knows, there's always this call, when people, a lot of folks complain, or someone says, well, like, if you so much, why don't you do something about it? Or, why don't you? Well, yeah, okay. So I am doing something about it. I do know more about it. I do know so much about it, and I would like to do something about it, and explain technically how the Schumann resonances work, and the associated electromagnetics, and how the detecting equipment works, and how they arrive at the signal, and how, and all of this. And so this is why I'm doing this, because I have a fascination of it, and I know there are some people out there who share this interest and this fascination with me. And I remember this when I'm doing these videos that there are. Hold on a sec. I need to plug this in. All right, so sorry, I had to plug the machine in and lost my train of thought. But basically, I was saying that there are people who are new here, and there's a lot of mumbo jumbo, hocus pocus, and everything that's out there, and I want to try and give people the straight up story on what's happening based on my experience. All right, so hopefully that got me back on track. All right, so time for some music, and this is from, I think this is from like November of 2016. I think I've played this before at one point. I think it was like last November. Um, 11/8. So it's almost 5 years. Yeah. I think this is roughly 5 years old. Oh, I think I named it Killer House. Oh, so on that cheery note. Pull it on home. Okay, we're going to pause that. Ready. Thank you. Welcome back. Okay, I'm live. I'm back. So I wanted to point out where it said inverted spectrogram before I put my head over there. All right. Tuck me in. All right. So I showed you the one first while I played the music. You had a bunch of minutes, a bunch of consecutive minutes for you to see the normal. That's normally how I show it, we show it, right? How everyone shows it is with the zero at the top. So what I did here is I inverted it. You see over on this side, these numbers are upside down. Right? All right. So no one, as far as I know, there's no one who's done this I've ever seen do it. No one talks about it, about doing that. They just kind of ask why. And, it's just such a mystery. People just kind of like, oh, like, just accept it, quite honestly. Right. And I can't blame you because that's part of, let me kind of bring this up again. Hold on. What are you? Oh, please, system processing. Please wait. Please wait. Oh, please. All right. So the normal way, as it is normally posted on through Tomsk related. So from Tomsk, their home base, in addition to Disclosure News, which is a clearinghouse, and then whoever else plucks it from, usually Disclosure News. Some people, the website, the Tomsk website. So the way the Tomsk has it is zero at the top, and then it goes successively down. So that's what you're looking at here. Zero at the top, then it goes successively. Where am I? Sorry, zero there, then it goes successively down to 40. Okay? I've mentioned this. I've given a description of Tomsk where I've talked about that, of the arrangement of the spectrogram, how the spectrogram itself is arranged differently than the dependency. So it's something important to know that it works the other way with the dependencies, that it has zero at the bottom and then the tall value at the top. Okay. So it's the opposite of the spectrogram. So no, I don't know why they do that. All right. So as a visual aid, I try to bring up, boom, there it is. All right. So I do this as a visual aid to people so you can see the spikes, match up the spikes with between the dependency and the spectrogram. All right. As I have said before, the spectrogram is a visual aid. It is not the direct interaction with the environment. The spectrogram is not the antenna. The spectrogram is not detecting and picking up a signal. What you're seeing there, the spectrogram, is a plotted signal, or it's a plotted image based on multiple incoming signals from the three different dependencies and the modes that associate with them. So the color information is coming from the dependencies directly below it. And you can see in the image here that you have these different colors of the white, yellow, red, and green. These colors across the board, this color gibberish, right? All these, this here, is what gives you all of this nice, neat, clean information on here, which is filtered. Right? It's important to know that they filter that information. One of the things that I mentioned before is that they scale the data. Okay, they scale the plots. How do I say this? The data gets scaled to fit into the size. They plot the data based on the parameters of the machine itself. They're each time that they clear the cache, it creates a new it creates a blank essentially that they fill up with new data. And so that's essentially why each, or how, I'm not sure if it's the why or the how, but that's essentially the nuts and bolts of why each spike looks like a big spike when it's not necessarily a big number. The value itself is not necessarily a big number, right? So we look at this here, 48. I always go, anyone that knows me, knows I go to the value, right? So it's 48 there. That equals this peak right here, 48, right? And this is decibels. Okay, this is actually negative. Um, and each one of these mode colors, you know what? Seemed appropriate to use white, since I am on the amplitude, the white mode. All right, so this right here is 48. It's power. This is power. Oh, please. Okay, there we go. More graffiti on my wall. All right, so it's important to understand that this value, it's not a frequency, even though you're seeing it measured on the frequency here. These are hertz, resonant, right? This is the resonant frequency, okay? That is different from this frequency here, okay, which is measured in kilometers. Okay, I've talked about this before. This is review here simply. That we have the resonant frequency, which is on the spectrogram. That's the visual aid. That's the plotting. That's the image, the manufactured image. That's not the direct information. This right here, the spectrogram, all these, the crazy lines here, uh, is the actual frequency, which is as radio, the standard for radio frequencies is the size of the wave, the peak to peak. Um, so that's what this made the four modes, sorry, of the frequency range from 0 to 40 hertz. Right? So this number going across here is a frequency number, whereas this number here on the vertical is a decibel rating. Right? That's really important to understand. Okay, so you see the numbers, and I did put our little directionals here, so that when you see spikes that are moving this way, that's your decibels, and you see activity that is moving this way, that's frequency, which is the magnetic side. All right, so a little diagram there to show you the frequency moves, uh, the frequency moves that way, and amplitude spikies are that way, the uprights. All right. So you have to remember that the spectrogram is compositing or compiling two different axes, an X and a Y, and then there's a time time domain assume in there based on the coloring, right? But the two getting back, right? Back a step. So the X and the Y, the plotting is based on the two types of antennas. The vertical is the dipole for measuring the amplitude, and that's the electric side. It's given to you in the decibel number, the power. It's the power rating. And the magnetics are the actual frequency. That's what has the waves, the magnetics. I've explained this before. The magnetics, the quality, these two are linked together as a wave, right? It's our theoretical wave. So these two are linked together for the wave. These two, the amplitude and the amplitude and the quality are linked together in the sense that magnetics and electrics are uh, they're inversely related. Okay, they work together as a team. Whereas the quality and the frequency is the measurement of the quality, which is the waves themselves, um, the magnetic flux, Teslas. It's measured in Teslas, which is the magnetic flux of the waves, the magnetic side. The magnetic side, magnetic waves are measured by an induction coil. Right? So it's the strength of the magnetic field, which is here in the quality. Okay? And that's the, hold on. Okay, so the quality is basically the magnetic flux, the strength of the magnetic flux. Okay, and this is different than the strength of the electrovolt. Right, decibel is the power rating. I think that's a good way to explain it. Decibel is the power rating, and magnetic flux is the strength rating. Right, two different things. It's like difference between horsepower and torque. Okay, two different ways to measure. A, they're 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 related. They're similar, but they're different vectors. Right. This is the complex side. This is the complicated side. All right. So I want to keep this simple, but there's different, different elements to this that you have two directions that things move in. One, it's either, up moving, top moving down, which is the electric, okay, even though it's, oh, this is so fucking complicated. Even though they have it shown here like that, it's actually down when Tomsk does it, it's actually properly correctly shown for the amplitude uh moves top down, but they have it zero, and that's a ground. So the ground should be at at zero. Uh, but the the antenna doesn't get a signal until it comes down to the antenna. You know, it's only got a range. The antenna only has a very limited range of like 5 kilometers. It's not much. It can't tell anything over 5 kilometers. It has to be in close proximity to what's going on. Um, the antennas are tuned so finely, and I'll even just say this: the antennas are tuned so finely that things that are local, that are loud, are actually it pegs the meter. And I think a lot of that is what gives you the data void at Tomsk, because it's just a signal that's too loud in what should otherwise be a very subtle signal. I think I hopefully that makes sense to you. The Schumann resonances are very delicate. They're the pico range, very delicate, very subtle. That's why they call it detecting, because they're very subtle signals. So if there are things local to that are that peg the meter, what happens is the computer algorithm picks it up, and a lot of times it kind of disregards that information because it's out of range. So without knowing more, I just kind of as automatically figure that a large part of what in those data voids are is just it's something locally that happened that pegged the meter. And I don't look at it as something, super crazy. It's people setting up a firework near it or whatever would very well set off the antenna. Um, so and that's something I mentioned as well, that the Schumann resonance, these are very subtle ranges, and it's likely not the Schumann resonances that are doing any, ringing in your ears. It's likely other more powerful, more local sources of electromagnetics that are causing these issues for you. I've said this before, and I think it's important to keep reminding people of this, that the Schumann resonances are not causing the ringing. Um, they're not strong enough to be doing that to you. That's not one of those traditional symptoms of the Schumann resonances. Um, all right, so one of the things I look at is comparing the electric side of the signal with the magnetic side, and you see a little bit of bumps here. So there's one here that kind of corresponds with that. Um, I guess a little bit of that corresponds to that. Right? So you see a little, if we are corresponding, and you see some of them are more yellow, you see this one here, a lot more activity on the magnetic side than the amplitude side. And again, remember that the magnetics would travel around the world. The amplitude, the spikes are not, they don't travel around the world. It's the magnetic side that travels around the world. That's what continues going around and round and round. The amplitude side stays, the amplitude signals stay as an amplitude for a short period of time. Then it converts over into magnetics where it travels as a coherent wave. So it's a fairly calm day for the amplitude, but there's a lot of activity in the magnetic section. And remember the times we talked about this. So this right here is midnight. That's midnight. So you look at from midnight to 5. All right, it's 12. This right here is 5, 6. Let's even be conservative and do the 5 to 6. All right, so 2, 6, local time. All right. So you see here, this is fairly active. At this point here, right, there should not be much going on, but there is. All right. And that's something I'm not going to say why. I don't know why. All right. But the amplitude magnetics, especially the bigger waves, all right, magnetics can bounce around the world. It does this is lower than CB radio range. This is lower than ham radio range. These are the lowest of the low frequency waves. So they skip signals around the globe at nighttime based on the ionosphere. Signals can travel further at night based on the loosening of the ionosphere. So the amplitude, again, you have Schumann two reasons you have Schumann resonances, or the two main uh, factors that can cause them. One, you have the waveguide, and two, you have lightning. Okay, so the conditions that cause the waveguide are what they are. The lightning is what it is. All right. So at nighttime, you don't expect to see uh, much human resonance activity because it's, the sun's gone down and the ionosphere is not so strong. So a looser ionosphere is going to give you weaker Schumann resonances. That's not the case here, right? So at night, when there's not any sun, you'd indicate a, a preponderance of lightning activity or atmospheric electromagnetics. Upper At nighttime, I would think of, like at nighttime, there's no upper at there's no upper ionosphere layer. So the D layer is always there. All right. So the D layer is like the lowest layer of the ionosphere. It's pretty much always there. All right. So the lowest layer of the ionosphere is going to allow uh the lowest wavelength, the longest, how do I say this? The longest wavelength, which would be the biggest waves that we have, the green ones, which is the one closest to Earth. Right? So uh because because of the difference of voltage, I'll just put it that way. Right? At nighttime, because there's less ionosphere, there's a different voltage. It's not as high voltage that's allowed to work, or that is expected to work, put it that way. Hopefully that gives a short and concise reason. All right. So it's just, I'm just observing this, that at the point where, it should be relatively calm, relatively quiet, and you see over here, all right, this is 6 8 uh 6 p.m. and see how it's very relatively calm here. All right. So you see the difference from 24 hours later. So the 7th, even if there is solar activity, if it's at night, it's not going to solar activity isn't going to make a difference, all right? Because it's now the other side of the globe. It's not in solar activity. So what you possibly expect to get a signal from would be lightning, right? The release of heat lightning, perhaps, during the nighttime, right? There is studies that try and link global warming based on lightning discharges, heat equals lightning discharges, and Schumann resonances. All right. So I'm not going far down that road because I don't think there's that kind of a link, but uh, I'm just saying that, there is a definite correlation between the release of heat and lightning, right? Just whether it's climate change or whatever, I'm not saying that. I don't think that's the case. But there are times where is more lightning discharge than other times, right? And you know what causes that? All right, I'm not going into that because I don't know if I really know all that. Um, and I think there are other things as well that are more than just, that are other than lightning. And the phrase lightning covers a wide range. There are also elves and sprites and whatever. Uh, let me put it this way: lightning flashes. I don't have the answer, but I look at this. Well, I will take you through the same process that I go through myself. Right? And so, a lot of this, I may not have the answer, but I do have enough to kind of question things and sort of look at things and observe. I'm observing and I'm asking questions. So one of the things that I would point out is lightning is quick. It's fast. It's momentary. And even if you have a lightning storm, it might last a few minutes. It doesn't last 4 hours. All right. And even then, you don't necessarily have a smooth average as you have here. Right. And this is something that I'm pointing out. See, you have way up here. And look at how active the upper range is relative to this. All right. So I'm pointing out, pound for pound, the difference between the two. Okay. So it's important to understand that, at night when the sun is quiet, there should be a lull in the Schumann resonances, but here there's just continual activity. And no, I don't know what this there's a 20 hertz line this here. Hertz. I don't know the cause of it. Okay. But I do know it's local. Thin vertical lines are local. Thin horizontal lines are local. Thin vertical lines are local. Vertical is generally local as well. So I I don't know what is active in the atmosphere, but you got to remember that activity, it's a band, horizontal band, those are your magnetics. That is what goes around the world. So it's not solar, it's not even lightning, right? Because lightning is amplitude. These are magnetics which travel around the world. It's like the question seems to be more, how is that related to the magnetic field of the planet itself? Okay. Amplitude is caused by local, I'm sorry, the amplitude is caused by electrics, local electric. So, lightning. So, where you have a, a shift, it's basically, 4 or 5 hours of it running. The magnetics are running. What is that? That's part of the geomagnetic process. It's somewhere over there in Russia, okay? However, these travel around the world, okay? And I have some hypotheses of things, but I'm not, I present to you what I can kind of prove and what I can validate and what I can show you. And so um, I'm, I have more questions than I have answers sometimes, but I'm bringing you along with the process, uh, so that we can evaluate this. This is something that I'm noticing, right? I'm observing it. As an observer, it doesn't mean I have answers. It just means let me show you what I see and let me show you the numbers and how all this kind of fits together. So I don't necessarily have any root causes of why it's doing that. But we go through, the process of what we know and we try and determine what it may happen to be. Right. So that's what part of the observer process is that we look at this as what it, the anomalies, anomalous behavior and what it is. And we look at, all the elements of it. All right. So we're at 46 minutes. If I play a few minutes, we're almost at an hour, and I didn't want to make this a long video, so under an hour is one of my short videos. So gonna play some music, right? Get me out of the equation, play some music, and then I'm gonna close this. So on that cheery note, thank you all. I appreciate everyone for being here. You're wonderful people. Thank you. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna play this for like another 2 minutes, and then close it out because it's getting close to the time where the store is gonna be closing shortly, and I need to go get some ginger ale and ice cream. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna close this soon and have a good night. And I'm not sure if I'm putting this as a premiere or not. I gotta upload it and then see where we are at that point. So anyway, I'll let you know.